reefs. So the color and variety of life found in the shallow tropical reefs was a source of joy for me. Constant. The different shapes and colors, the huge variety of life, invertebrates, vertebrates, be they small reef fish, larger reef predators, or invertebrates like the corals and the sponges, the anemones. Beautiful. Here's a dramatic contrast between the shallow sunlit reef and the dark blue water below. Some soft corals, a few hard corals, some sponges. So many different types of animals calling the reef home. This is in the Philippines, Apo Island. And here we have some black triggers, those small reef fish that are foraging for food and taking refuge in the reef. An angel and some antheus harboring amongst some hard corals. Here a juvenile angel, that blue fish with the spiral pattern on it, is navigating around a little rock outcropping. But not all reefs are natural. This is the U.S. Army transport Liberty, which was torpedoed by the Japanese in 1943, I believe, off the east coast of Bali. It ran aground, but in 1983, it was shaken back into the water by a strong volcanic eruption and earthquake. And now it rests in about 90 feet of water, up to about 30 feet at the top. And it's home to many fish, including this grouper. Makes for a spectacular dive, hosting many, many different life forms, fish, and many, many divers as well. Here's some antheus dance amongst the plate coral and soft coral and sponges. The reef has also hosted many anemones and these little domino damsels. And anemones have stinging cells, and the clownfish or anemone fish can take refuge there, as these ones are doing in those white anemones at the top. Here's some bicolored damsels are just floating around some underwater vegetation. Here's some small sardine-like fish. And some antheus dancing in and out of their hard coral home that provides them protection from reef predators, one of which is this blue trevally, who races over the reef and snaps up anybody who's not paying attention. And the white-tipped reef shark is a common sight on the reef as well. Some large table corals with antheus dancing about. Table corals give shelter both within their little spines and below. This is in Myanmar, actually. Some yellow snappers. And the table corals can take many different colors, like this purple one, and then this blue one near Bali that looks like it's been painted. Here are many, mostly hard corals. Some antler coral that looks very much like a deer's antler. Some big brain coral. And some plate coral as well, and tables. But these brilliantly colored antheus take refuge in these large collections of antler coral, so that the predators can't make a snack out of them. Another common animal on the reef is the barrel sponge. That previous one looked very much like a volcano. And the barrel sponges can get quite large, and they siphon the water and filter feed. Here's some tube sponges. And there's a large cowrie right there. It looks like a leopard cowrie. A few inches across. And they always occur in pairs, and there's his mate down below. Some very large barrel sponges. And more of the same, occupying a nice archway. Here's a unique hard coral, a lettuce coral. There's a little yellow damsel. And this is a huge area that was covered almost exclusively in this lettuce coral. And it was very unique. And there's Rachel and Nicole. And the lettuce coral had a brilliant yellow fringe on it. It's quite striking. And again, very unique. I think I only saw that in 1 or 2 locales. And of course, the fish take any opportunity for shelter. This is one of my favorite soft corals. It's an octocoral called a xenia coral. And it dances around. It's an octocoral. It has 8 little tentacles on each polyp. And it dances around, filter feeding, grabbing little particles in the water. And it's fun to watch. Looks like fireworks to me. These are Christmas tree worms. They burrow into the hard corals, and then they extend their tentacle or their little feather-like appendages out, and they filter feed. And if your shadow passes over them, they immediately disappear. This was an incredibly unique anemone of sorts that I only found once. It reminded me of a lava flow. It's a brilliant orange color, and you can see the anemone tentacles along with some other animals there. There's, of course, the king of color on the reef is the soft corals. Here you can see some brilliant oranges and purples. Just amazing. They provide so much color in wide areas, just in a huge variety. These ones branching out, and some smaller ones with some sponges, and some soft corals that resemble cauliflower. Those yellow-green guys in the foreground. And when they retract, they look a little bit different, but still beautiful. Here's a big blue one down deep. Color's not as impressive, but just showing you the variety. And nothing's more fun than racing over the top of a reef in the current. Sometimes the current was so strong that you had no chance to swim against it, so just had to roll with it, and it was very enjoyable just to fly over a colorful reef. Lots of variety here. A big table coral. Get a little peek at a yellow trumpet fish at the end here, right there. And again, just soaring over this high current area and just letting the colors just fly by you. Some crinoids, they look like sea stars down there, many of those. And again, many sponges of all different shapes and colors, and anemones and the beautiful soft corals. And there's no better way to end a dive than to come up out of the cold, dark blue water and float across the sunlit shallows and enjoy the colors as you do your safety stop and just effortlessly cruise across. You can kind of see my shadow. The sun is directly behind me. But just gorgeous water. This is in Indonesia near Komodo in the Banda Sea. But all good things must come to an end. And I think I can hear my dive guide signaling me that it's time to surface. She's already floated her safety sausage. We've done our 3 minutes, and it's time to call it a dive.